So let's explore the topic of INFJs and why we don't have many friends. I don't know if this applies to all INFJs, but I'm just going to talk from personal experience. I feel like as I become more mature and more aware and more mindful and understanding, my perception of what is being presented to me um, becomes clearer and the scope becomes wider. So I can see things not only more clearly, but I have a wider viewing scope to kind of assess things from. And ever since I've been able to kind of become more attuned and aware to not only the dense things, but the more subtle things, and pick up on subtle cues that kind of, how do I say, let me know when something is unbalanced, unaligned, toxic, superficial, dysfunctional. And when I am cued into these things, I just kind of become a little bit more, how do you say? A little bit more apprehensive when I approach situations or relationships. I've become really, really picky and really selective about the company I keep, the places I frequent, the things I consume. And if I can sense that it will be a if I can sense that it's going to be detrimental to my well-being, then I probably won't invest too much time, energy, or effort into it. And that's what it's about. It's about my willingness to commit to and invest in something. It's not that I'm keeping score, but if you saw something or someone and they were toxic, you have a choice. Do you want to participate in a toxic relationship, or would you rather retract from it, So, yeah, I just become more mindful and aware, and more observant. And, my time and energy is important. That's my currency. And if I'm going to invest it in something or someone, I want to make sure it's a worthwhile investment. So, yeah, I think that explains why I have little to no friends. In the past, when I was still in the process of maturing, it was hard for me to discern or differentiate a friend from a foe. I don't know why. I think I was under this really delusional impression that everybody was kind and everybody was nice and everybody had your best interests in mind. And so I was very trusting and gullible and giving, and I think I got to a point where I was so giving that I had exhausted myself on all levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I was almost forced to kind of reassess how I was approaching situations and relationships. And I noticed, that I had the habit of just giving. And then I asked myself, why am I giving? Like, part of it was because I thought everybody functioned the same way. Part of it was because I thought everybody was wired the same way. And then I started kind of like, you know, um, taking a really good look at things and started realizing that not everybody is wired the same way, not everybody gives the same way, not everybody loves the same way, not everybody perceives the world the same way. And there's all these variables and differences that make us, you know, unique. And not everybody sees the world through the same lens as me. And then I started questioning, okay, so why am I giving? And it's like, okay, obviously not everybody gives. So maybe I'm codependent. Maybe I'm a people pleaser. What does that mean? Like, oh, okay, that means I don't value myself. I don't value my worth. I don't value my time. Um, I'm attracting all these parasites and these dysfunctional relationships because I need to teach myself to um, be more mindful and aware of, um, you know, who has my best interest in mind and who doesn't, and to practice self-care and to practice self-acceptance, and I don't need validation outside of me. So, all these things are kind of connected and linked together, and I could go on and on and on, but I guess the whole gist was through my journey, um, through my trials and tribulations and my errors and my experimentation and my gullibility, I've garnered some pretty worthwhile tools that help me to kind of understand the dynamics between people and relationships and different varying characters and personalities, and you know um, the chemistry it creates, or the dysfunctions that can happen. And I've become highly selective, and I guess it's almost a personal choice to have no friends. I mean, I've always been one to value quality over quantity anyway, so you know I just feel like, I know this sounds a little judgmental, but just from observation, it just seems like the people who are more extroverted, and these are all labels, so it's not really like a concrete term, but in order for us to understand what I'm talking about, I think a more extroverted personality type seeks external validation. So, you know, because they can't validate themselves, they need to seek it outside of them. And that's why they seem to be really popular and have all these friends and acquaintances and having a great time, divulging in sensory stimulation and things like that. But people like us, even though it seems lonely, I think it's because we're more independent and we don't need, per se, as much external validation as some other people do, and that's why we are able to be more confident in our selves and our company, and we're highly selective about what we invest our time in and who we choose to allow into our lives. And for me, I just have not even a handful of friends, and I'm comfortable with that. I don't even hang out with them regularly. Like, I'll see them once every 4 to 6 months, and I'm fine with that. I'm I think I'm at ease knowing that these people are genuine and sincere. They have my best interests in mind. Um, and like I said, quality over quantity. I know, like, this happens rarely, but I have come across some people who I have found fascinating and intriguing. And in order to understand them more, I would try to engage with them. Like, for instance, go out for dinner or lunch, or, meet up and go hiking somewhere. But it's interesting, those connections never really flourished. So even though I saw potential, the other participant wasn't willing to meet me halfway, and so it just kind of fell apart, So that kind of puzzles me, because I don't come across these encounters often. So to find someone who I am fascinated with reject me, or reject a deeper connection with me, is quite puzzling. But I guess tomato, tomato, and it is what it is. And I don't believe in forcing or imposing anything upon anyone. So I guess I just wasn't their cup of tea, and I just decided not to drink. And I guess that's how it feels on the opposing end of trying to get to know an INFJ or establish a relationship with them, because we're highly selective. So now I know how it feels to be rejected. Anyhow, blessings to one and all. Amen.